Man, I always want to keep finishing.
It's the third beat. It's done. It's done. You're live.
We got it. We got it. 5 and 4 and welcome. Thank you. I always think of Anchorman. Anytime that I get like a remotely professional straight face, I think of like coffee going down, 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 down. You're lying. I'm not live. The Anchorman 1 and 2 now, thanks to you. But I've always been a Paul Rudd fan. It's more Paul Rudd for me than anything. But welcome, guys. It's I always mess it up. It's a tongue twister. Astronomy, right? Astronomy. Welcome. Astronomy. Astrology.
And
every time. And alchemy. If I have to be held accountable to doing it correctly, I'll mess it up. That's just it. That's just how today has been. Anybody else? Astrology and alchemy. But to me, somebody was asking earlier the difference. I knew it was going to mess me up. Astronomy and astrology. That's a good question. And we do. Let's maybe get into that tonight and maybe mention like what the difference would have been if we mentioned this because we're mentioning both, by the way. But that's what we do here on the show every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Central Standard with Matthew and myself talking about the vibes. How have the vibes treated you so far? This past
hasn't been too bad. I mean, we're getting ready. We'll talk about it. We're getting ready to transition into a sign and season that I have family members. I have a lot of close friends that are in this sign. So I don't want to say I dislike this people of that sign, but as far as like the stereotypical energy, we're heading into a season that is not one of my favorites. So
which one are you referring to?
Gemini.
Gemini, two-faced Gemini.
I'm sociable, but I'm more introverted than I. So that whole social butterfly, extroverted, let's talk, like energy is just.
What do you think? What do you say? I think of telephone, the old school, which my children the other day were like, I remember the telephones in the old school where they have the one end that you put to your ear and the other very end. Payphones, 1-800, pick me up at the movie theater. The movie will be done at 9:30. Thanks. We'll be at Taco Bell across the street. Bye. For collect calls and things like that. But anyway, kind of dating myself with my children. But yeah, Gemini. This is we're in it. And how does that make you all feel for those of you joining us? Gosh, we've got Slante, we've got Salut, we've got Bonjour. We've got all sorts of people joining us. Tony, Mary, Ruth, Chet, 1956. Someone, you guys, if you're joining us for the first time, Matthew has zero control over the chat room because only one of us can do it. So he is there giving us his astrological interpretations on the whim of impromptu divine. And then I'm involved in the chat room. So let's get started. Today's Tuesday. The moon's in Leo today. Mercury and Gemini moving. We talked about that last week. Some of you are probably feeling that, wanting to communicate, kind of fiery ego coming in and out of the issue lately. Anybody having ego issues themselves or others? That's part of Leo. But tomorrow, hump day, Wednesday. Let us start there. Jackie from Wisconsin. What do you need to think about or expect from the energies tomorrow? We're going to wake up. It's going to be Venus in Matthew's favorite, Gemini. And it's going to be trine Saturn in its Aquarius that it has been in since the great shift of 2020, December 21st. Go, Pats, go, she says. This Venus and Gemini trine Saturn in Aquarius. What do we have to expect from that?
So trine is kind of a good synergistic type energy. So Venus in Gemini. So again, we have, it's romance and pleasure, and it can be some business related things too, although most people are interested in the romance piece. So that's kind of where I go on this. So we've shifted from stable and indulgent to now very flirty, very extroverted, very social butterfly. This is almost like on the romantic front, a fear of commitment, or not even a fear of commitment, just I'm not going to commit. I'm going to keep all my options open, play the field, very extroverted, very talk, with just connections all over the place. In synergy with Saturn, which is rules and restrictions, but it's in a weird spot right now because Aquarius is kind of your rebel. And so kind of rebelling against the rules. So it's kind of like change the rules. So I will interpret this as unconventional romantic interactions. So I can go in a lot of different directions. So use your imagination, but whether it is, you know, outside of your normal relationship or a relationship dynamic that is not traditional, that kind of energy is going to be in play tomorrow.
Man. Okay. So psychically, guys, I have to share this with you. I've been doing a lot of additional meditation for those in the Gypsy tribe, you know, and with the veil and the 555 and all the crazy things. I've been focusing on that Aquarius, getting information through music. With this, Venus and Gemini to kind of further squeeze out what to expect of this. I don't know if you know the details on Michael Bublé.
No.
I actually don't. I don't know either. I don't know him personally. He doesn't write his music. Blake Shelton does. But his, I just haven't met you yet. Oh, you know that song? And it's a great song. It's very catchy. Of course, there's one part where he calls whomever his future partner is. And I just haven't met you yet. This is the Gemini Venus vibe for tomorrow. And he calls kid. And then now, of course, it's coming out that like he yanks on his girlfriend on Zoom meetings. And people are like, whoa, you're kind of yanking a little tough there, Michael. And people are like, not Michael Bublé. And this is that. What do you think? Well, what did you hear? Well, what did you see? Is it a Johnny Depp situation where it's the girl going wild or what's going on? And people are like all up in his business. But then I kind of look at his love songs and the lyrics, even though I know he didn't write it, just the irony of the joy and the this and the that, and Saturn wanting to be kind of expansive and over here and over there. That's the song that I'm hearing. But then also, we're not just having that tomorrow, guys. Get ready. We've got many things happening this week. Also, Matt, second quarter moon. Moon is swelling. Moon is waxing. Moon is getting bigger towards this huge thing coming up next week. Oh my God. Second quarter moon phase in Leo is also tomorrow. So what do you see when you couple that with that movement as well?
Okay, so I gotta say ahead of time before I say this, that, and again, when I say this likes and dislikes, like everything's good. There's not good or bad signs, just different. But you know, you'll all have different energies you interact with. Yes, Mary, you will never hear me sing. I got
you will.
A little sidebar here. In first grade,
singing and crying, the two things we're getting Matt to do by the end of before I die.
Ironically, the last time I sang and the last time I cried were both in first grade. So, two different stories. But so we had a music teacher in first grade that pulled 5 of us aside. And when you're in first grade, you have no idea how you sound. And they pulled us aside, and he's like, "You guys all need special help. So I'm going to give you special help." Because I guess we were ruining how the class sounded. And he had us like in this closet somewhere, and then he just left us. So when you're there at like 7, you're like, I didn't know I couldn't sing. And honestly, from that point forward, I just lip synced. So I was in first grade singing like Mary Had a Little Lamb stuff, and I was just like,
that one up there, it's got character.
You're never gonna. You may see me cry eventually. That hasn't happened since first grade too, but you're never.
Man, gosh.
All right.
Well, anyway, focus.
Yeah,
total
sidebar.
Perfect sidebar.
Back, but these interact well. I wanted to add with that non-traditional. So what I see that is like possibly like people hitting on people that you wouldn't normally see. So, you know, like affair type hitting on, boss, employee, teacher, student, all these things. But remember, it's Gemini energy. Gemini energy has like no staying power. So this is like a one night hookup kind of energy. This isn't anything. This you're not going to find your soulmate more than likely in these interactions. This is a very Gemini is very flirtatious, play the field, keep things open. It's exploring options.
Love you today, leave you tomorrow. No offense to this.
I like Leo energy. My ascendant, which for folks who don't know what the ascendant is, that's kind of like your outward mask. My ascendant is Leo, so I have Leo energy. I've mentioned this before that at least out of everyone I've ever dated that I knew their birthday, I've only ever dated Leos, not by intent. It just happens to work out that way. So I like Leo energy. But this is going to be a weird combo because Leo energy, as this moon is building, Leo is, I think of Trump. You know, it's ego, even though Trump's not a Leo. Trump's a Gemini, believe it or not, which is very interesting.
Ooh, that is interesting.
Ego on me. Now, Leo's actually generous, though. So it's ego and it's about me, but they like to be generous. But there's also this like double side of that. I like to be generous so that I'm recognized as being generous. You like me because I'm generous to you.
Right. Yes.
So you have this whole kind of, so you have this, I want the spotlight energy combining with all these planets that are moving into Gemini, which is going to be so there's going to be a ton of extroverted energy coming in and everything opening up from COVID. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of extroverted energy out there. And with what we just mentioned earlier with the Venus piece, there's going to be a lot of flirtatious energy out there. So just beware. If you're somebody that has lots of people that like flirt with you and hit on you and stuff, have your guard. There's going to be a lot of that energy going. I don't know how much now because it's still the COVID thing and everything, but yeah, is like you might be getting like random texts and stuff like that from folks. It's just,
hey, just checking in. How are you doing? What are your summer plans? Haven't heard from you in a while.
Yeah.
Now that COVID things are lifting, I just thought I'd reach out. That kind of stuff. Exactly. Be aware.
Which is all cool. It can all just be friendly. I mean, the Gemini energy is very, very friendly.
Yep.
But
we told you so. We told you.
Venus piece in play. Just be aware.
Man, I don't know what's going on with I was checking for ticks earlier. I'm obsessed with ticks. We're finding them everywhere. My chickens are too small to be out. We're having mass chaos over here. Anyway, back to the astrology. Thursday. And by the way, people in the chat room are sharing how they feel, Matt, as you are explaining this, how people they've dated have been Leos, how they have seen some of these things. And also the question of how do you find your ascendant? How do you find your rising sign? Which I'll let you share. But also, guys, don't forget, Matt does readings and you can go online and find your birth chart, entering in some of that information if you know it. But how do you find your ascendant? As I pull up here what to expect for Thursday, because we actually have a pretty big movement.
Astro.com has really cool like chart software. The Ascendant, this is where when people say that you need to know your location and your birth time, Ascendant is one of the critical ones on that because it changes a lot. So the Ascendant is basically the sign that is on the horizon at the time of your birth. And that sets, we haven't really got into this and we don't talk about this a whole lot, but if you hear people talk about houses, there's like 12 houses that have different pieces too. I'm not going to get too much into that right now, but your ascendant sets that first house and then it kind of goes from there. So your ascendant is your mask, kind of how you're outwardly perceived. So if someone will say, you know, I'm a Cancer sun sign, but I don't really feel like I am a Cancer. Everybody thinks I'm more of like a Libra. Your Libra may be your ascendant because that's how everybody will perceive you. So I have a lot more, even though I actually don't have like any planets in Leo. My ascendant's Leo, so I have certain Leo energy, although I would never compare myself to Trump. I have certain Leo energy.
Virgo.
I like attention. I have a healthy ego. So I have that. I feel I'm relatively generous. So yeah.
Virgo. My whole thing I was showing my husband because he overhears a lot of what we do and it's been kind of like absorbed over the last year or so. And I was showing him the birth chart of our children the other day. And he was like, wow, okay. Because it will, break it down by the earth, water, air, fire. And then it showed him mine. And it's Virgo. And he was like, wow. I was like, I know. It's just OCD.
I was not getting into a whole lot of detail. Like you have a very, you're like earth and fire on yours. And I'm like earth and air. So we click well because we have that earth piece. But she's got more of the fire action piece, and I have more of the air, like intellectual communication energy. But
it's a tornado
very
thing.
earthy, yeah.
Yeah, without doing too much damage. It's kind of a cool thing. So, Thursday. I always say Thursday for Thursday because I do think of it as this kind of space for the Jupiter, the expansion, the spark. But Thursday, May 20th, this week, we have what to expect. And you guys, as we put these pieces together, you see what to expect from the week as a whole and then each day individually, so you can plan and prepare and have a little certainty in these uncertain times. Thursday, the sun, kind of like your ascendant, the sun, what you see, oh, the circle of light. The sun enters Matt's favorite, Gemini. So
people being sarcastic, yeah, I'm like, for people that may have come in earlier, like, I don't hate Gemini, but Gemini is one of the signs that I don't necessarily click with so much. My favorite, ironically, is coming up soon. Cancer is my favorite, but anyway, Sun in Gemini. What did you say that? I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
It's the Sun in Gemini on Thursday.
That transition. So we mentioned this before when we're talking about all the Aries energy. That it's like a pendulum. So Aries was all this action. I feel like the battlefield. It's actually kind of where some of this imagery has come from. March is when they used to start their military campaigns. So Aries, Mars, war. Then you go to Taurus, which is more like go back, lick your wounds, get everything set back up again. And now we're going back to an extroverted space. We're going into Gemini. But Gemini is different. Gemini is air. Gemini is extremely extroverted. If you just picture stereotypical, if you just picture one of these people that just goes all around talking, like can be in this group and have like two conversations. They'll be talking I'll be talking to Sarah and then somebody's talking over there. Oh yeah, I'll add to that conversation. I'll add to that. Like they're just social butterflies and their brain goes really fast. And it's a very, very extroverted energy. It's a very flirtatious energy. It is a very, I think it's unfairly can be slammed for this, but it is kind of a flighty energy because the brain, and it goes so fast, it doesn't stay with anything for a long time. So that's why I wanted to point out with the Venus, but there isn't a sticking power with Gemini, which we're coming from Taurus, which Taurus was that 800-pound bull in the hill. I'm staying here. I ain't moving. Now we're in the opposite. Now we're like butterfly. Boop, 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 like all of it.
What'd he say? What'd she say? What'd he say?
So,
What'd she say?
Keep this in mind. All the different energies here. There's going to be this whole lot of like flitting and flipping from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. So it's going to be Gemini is the ADD sign, I would say, or the squirrel sign. It's just one of my favorite memes I saw once said that every squirrel looks like it's their first day being a squirrel. That's kind of Gemini to me.
That's cute. That's kind of cute to think about. They do.
Yeah.
When I think of a squirrel, I always think of the Sword in the Stone from Disney, and when they become squirrels for the day, and and she falls in love with him, and he's like, "See, I'm an ugly old man." And he turns him back into the man, and then, she gets real upset. And they talk about how they bond for life. And I always wondered if that was true. It really made me feel quite special about squirrels. And when I, see them dead on the road, I'd be like, oh, someone's soul squirrel is gone. Gemini. Did you hear? Is that true? What they say, like a judge? Now it's your turn to talk. What do you mean? Now it's his turn. Now what'd they say? It's going back and forth, getting both sides. Now I'm going to share a little bit of magic with everyone, like from our Gypsy Tribe moments. Something that I have been doing that I find to be a really cool exercise, like not only for mental health, but for like spiritual awareness, all the cool stuff with Gemini. If you find yourself looking at something and you have that moment of, oh, here I am looking at something, like you have that moment of present awareness, mindfulness that, oh, like Sarah had mentioned recently on Matt and Sarah's show that, there I am, I'm looking at this. Turn your head and look the complete opposite way. Like, for example, I drive down this road. I drive it 100 million times. I drive it when I drop my kids off to school, and I drive past the police station. I'm always trolling the small town police station. Who's there? Who's working? How many cars are there? Are they all gone? Are they all busy? Are they eating donuts? Who's there? Did they paint it? I wonder if they're hiring. Like, I'm always paying because there's nothing on the other side. So I never look to the left. I never look over there. There's nothing over there. I'm always gawking over here. But because this was suggested to me, Gemini, take a moment, like the squirrel, to look both ways, hear both sides of this story. And I was like, gosh, there's that police station. Oh. And it was like, I had a moment as a photographer where I looked over and there's these pussy willow plants where the little white fuzz balls on the end, and the sun was hitting it. And the sun was coming up. It's like 7:30, dropped the kids off, and it was lit up. And I thought, if I could get a girl in a dress with big fuzzy hair plopped right there, trespassing across from the police station. Ooh, it'd be the best picture ever. And I'd never seen it before. Driven it past there 100 times. Gemini, to stop and just look the other direction and see what you might notice.
Related to that, I always think of Gemini. I didn't share this either. I think it's Robert Frost, but that poem about the path less traveled, that's how I see Gemini too. It's like the two paths,
two roads diverged in a wood.
While you're in Gemini, it's kind of like, which one? And then when Gemini moves, it'll be, okay, time to decide which one. But like you're in this space right now where you'll see lots of people and they will extrovertedly be bouncing ideas off you. It's like that mental process is external, not internal. So I'm trying to make a decision and I'm just bouncing all these things off you. And so, yeah, get ready. Because we have about a month of this energy being really strong.
And asking, and in air, it's asking us to know what we know. How do you know that? Who told you that? Oh, yeah. How do you know that? Who told you that? How did you know that? Where'd that idea come from? Oh, yeah. Are you sure? Like air is combative. Air is tumultuous. Air is kind of rubs you the wrong way sometimes. So knowing that it's in Gemini, two-faced, changing, it's like a tornado. It's like a water spout. It's kind of crazy. But that's what we have to look forward to on Thursday. Now, Friday. Friday, some stuff goes down. Sunday. No, the sun. Friday. Man, that's going to, I'm looking ahead. I'm cheating. Oh, gosh. Okay. Friday. Here it is. It's Friday. You wake up, you play Montel Jordan. It's Friday night and I feel all right. And the sun is in Gemini. And it's squaring off with Jupiter in Pisces. So I'm going to put that in the chat room here. Sun in Gemini squaring off with Jupiter in Pisces.
That is interesting. So square is, I don't want to go as far as say obstacle, but it's kind of like in your way that you have to deal with. It's kind of the way I word it. So I try to break these up so that folks can figure out. Because the other thing I'll quick add is if you know your birth chart, then you can kind of apply these same things to what's going on with the charts that we talk about. So, if you have a sun that is, conjunct or trying or any of these things to what we're talking about, you kind of know what to expect personally. So I try to break these out into sentences to help you out. So you said it was sun in Gemini, square Jupiter, Pisces?
Yes.
Okay, so sun in Gemini. So we already kind of covered that whole squirrel, extroverted, path less travel. It's blocked by, I always use Jupiter is expansive and opportunity. So I view this as a car coming up. The door swings open and you got friends in there and they're like, get in the car. And where the car is going is related to what sign you're in. So right now it's in Pisces. So Pisces is, the biggest analogy I use is it's the last sign in the zodiac. So it's kind of like that deathbed perspective of I've lived my whole life. And this is so it's really introspective and kind of wise. And it's like the two fish. So there's still this kind of like back and forth, but it's very, unlike Gemini, which is very extroverted and everything, Pisces is very internal. So you're going to have opportunities, but I would say it's more internal opportunities, maybe growth opportunities, maybe things of like, where am I really going to find fulfillment, which will turn into kind of a conflict. So maybe you're going to have a conflict over what feels right for you to do, what you should be doing, almost like a life crisis type thing. And then where you're going to want to channel that energy is you're going to want to internally channel that and start bouncing ideas off people. So yeah, it'll be this weird kind of like psych introspective. Am I doing the right thing? Am I, that kind of vibe is going to be going on.
Ooh, see, and I like that because it's the sun in Gemini wanting to feel like there's some consistency, but maybe seeing many sides of one story. So then needing to sit back and noticing that there's conflict in some of what's expanding emotionally around you. So I think about in my life, for example, I am taking on a new work position just to add some additional income. And that means I have to kind of restructure things. I have to restructure my schedule a little bit, but it's also allowing for growth. Jupiter, it's giving me goals to think about and things I can look forward to working on and finally having the money to invest in. But that Pisces means I'm also emotional about it. So it's like, what am I going to miss? What things am I going to have to say no to? It's going to make taking a vacation like my kids have been wanting a lot more difficult. And why, after 2 years, did this opportunity come up right at the same time at this? It's like you can feel quite emotional about the expansion that seems to have so many flip-floppy faces for those people who don't know the details. So I have a feeling a lot of people will be going through opportunity and that two roads diverged in a wood, needing to choose one or the other, needing to say, okay, I've got to do this. Maybe I'll try and do both. Oh, I'm going to do this. And then you kind of feel resentment, guilt, worry, concern, paranoia. Did I make the right decision? As you continue moving forward, Jupiter says, yeah, you're going to feel. You're going to feel. Well, that sucks. I mean, we're human, right? So how can you not? How can you not feel? You just have to know that you're making the right decision. The right road is rarely the easy one. So if you're having conflict, you're probably on the right path in some way, shape, or form. Kind of an interesting thing to think about. And that's going to hit people on Friday. So they might leave the party going, oh, yeah, no, I'm fine. Yeah, no. And then find themselves quite emotional at Waffle House at 2:00 in the morning, trying to start a new business with everybody. Who knows what's going on? So then we put the pieces together. Saturday, Mercury and Gemini. What? Mercury and Gemini. Communication, the small, quick planet closest to the sun in Gemini, like the sun. And it's squaring off with, oh, no, I never like to see this as a social worker. Neptune and Pisces. Neptune and, right? Dun, dun, dun.
I was already thinking ahead of time that whatever happens on Saturday is going to be like the direct impact of what we just talked about Friday. Of you have this internal crisis of, am I doing the right thing? And now we get into this, and this is not a good one.
Right. Look out.
So Mercury and Gemini. Mercury is at home in Gemini, so I view it's kind of like, Gemini squared. So it's Mercury's communication and thoughts in the flighty extroverted. So this is just talk. We're going to want to talk. We're going to want to brainstorm. We're going to want to bounce ideas. And it's square. So square is an obstacle to Neptune is dreams. It can be deception. It can be what I want versus what's real. And it's home in Pisces, which is, again, dreamy and deathbed perspective. So what I see is Friday, you may have these stirrings of this like inner crisis of, am I doing the right thing? Am I, on the right path? Hitting by Saturday with your thoughts and communications being opposed by your dreams. And so it's just going to like square that energy from Friday. And you're going to have this whole thing on Saturday of, am I doing the right thing? Should I be doing? So this kind of like crisis of, life crisis, your life path, your life. So
emotional.
If you're not having it, you're going to have other. I'd be on the lookout Friday and Saturday of having people call of just, hey, I just need to hash this out with you. I'm really thinking about like selling everything and moving to Washington or,
Yep. It's going to be for people that are hinging on addiction, people hinging on relationship struggles, or people hinging on these new business adventures. These struggles emotionally, Neptune, like you said, I always think of King Triton, the creature, and King Triton in this space where he's surrounded with all these daughters and it's emotional. And the one, I'm 16, I'm not a child anymore. Wanting to you stupid. Wanting to man, you watch it as an adult and you're just like, look at this stuff. Isn't it neat?
I didn't realize in the fairy tale she dies.
She dies. And she dies and turns into sea foam or something like that, doesn't she? She turns into foam, that crap you get on your shoe and you think it's a jellyfish on the late night strolls of your romantic beach walk, and it's the yeah, that's what happened to her. Take that, love story. Anyway, That's what King Triton does. That's what the ocean, that's what that deep water, that's Neptune and Pisces. That's what happens. And so that's something that it's important to keep in mind if you have somebody, hinging on an emotional breakdown, if that's you. Go ahead on Friday when you're like, I don't know, they said the road less traveled is going to be hard. Should I get the $1 pint of ice cream that's on sale? Go ahead and get it. It's not a big deal. Or is this going to be the hinging of your diet that tomorrow when someone comes in and says, well, look at you, you did it again. And that is what tips you over the edge because you feel so guilty that now you just can't handle things. Like it's one of those, this is a really important shadow time as far as doing mental health work. This is where people are going to have, like you use the C word, crisis. It's like if you're working in, emergency services, sure is quiet tonight. Why do you do that? You don't say that. You don't say that. That's Neptune and Pisces. And that's Saturday. So that just means be stable. Maybe don't do the things that you don't think you should do if you think that you might regret it. If it's not something you wouldn't repeat or do on camera, then don't do it. The shadow work I have for that day. If you could learn a new language, what would it be? If you could learn a new language, Matt, what would it be? Any other language?
Mandarin.
Ooh, Chinese.
Because it's difficult, and that would be I think it would be an advantage. Sarah knows me. There's nothing I do, even when I nap or sleep. It's recharging. There's nothing I don't do.
It's challenge though. But that's what
recreation.
But you like a good challenge. You don't do anything for recreation. It means serious business. But you also, just before anyone gets crazy political thoughts, you do international business. So that would also be important for you. That would be important. Yeah. It would make you a hot commodity. Not that you're not a hot commodity, Matt, but man, if you could speak Mandarin, you'd be unstoppable.
Yep.
Do you think you will?
No, because I maybe not as bad as I am in musical talent, but my language talent is horrible.
Do you know any Mandarin?
I don't know any other language. I suck at languages.
Do you say
my daughter? My daughter. My sister is she is a Spanish teacher. She picks up languages really, really well, and she got that gene, and I got the math and science gene. I can't do languages.
That's good, though. That's good. Math and science is good though too. That's good to have. Well, I expect you to learn Mandarin. I don't underestimate you at all in that space. So guys,
real quick that the Neptune, the other thing too is it's foggy, so it's because
air and water.
What you're seeing may not be reality. So that's the other thing on Saturday is you could have some deceptive, for me, maybe I wake up Saturday and decide I always wanted to be a lead singer in a band. And why am I not a lead singer in a band? And maybe I should sell everything and go join a band. That's stupid. You have no talent in that, Matt. It's that kind of, I went to an extreme, but it's that kind of thing. Neptune's that dream, and what you're thinking is real might not really be real. So whenever it's Neptune, I always tell people to wait until that energy passes and see if you still feel the same way.
Right. Dang. Okay. So that's Saturday. That's just Saturday. And then Sunday. And again, you guys, because I see one or two of you in the chat room going, dang it, YouTube is being really fickle, or it's kicking us off, or there's a struggle. There are solar flares out there. We shared in the beginning of the show. If you've been struggling with what is it? Vestibular diseases. It's going to be issues feeling like you're dizzy or nauseated, headaches, the barometric pressure related things, very saucy, very moody, very short fused, and also foggy. I would say foggy and unclear. The solar flares, they affect us just like they affect all of our electronics. So you guys, it may not be you. I mean, it is you, but it's not completely you. So we are going through some of the worst solar flares that we've had in decades right now. So there's something to think about that. You don't have to bang on your computer or break things like I've done in the past. Don't do that. Learn from my mistakes. You can hear my husband downstairs listening to the Lord of the Rings. That's 2 stories down. But if you hear a subtle adrenaline rush in your bloodstream, It's the soundtrack of Lord of the Rings. Look at your
I
fur baby.
have a special guest. He was at my feet. And
Oh, look at this fur baby's ears. Hello.
I'll back up so you can actually see him.
Look at the ears. What is this one's name?
This one is Jack. He's a puppy.
Jack.
He's crazy.
Jack. Is your name Jack, the Skeleton King?
Yep.
Oh, he loves you.
He is a crazy dog.
Yeah, he says, I heard you say I was just a puppy, and that was your way of saying I chew everything and poop everywhere and ruin everything.
He's part retriever, so he just likes to grab random things around the house and run around with them like it's a prize and make you
it says, look at me destroy things. Oh, but you're loving on him, and he's like, this is great. I was always born to be famous. He's so cute.
Yeah, he needs to melt. He was getting very active at my feet, but I just so you guys know, so I'm working from home, so I have this like box of stuff under the desk that he considers a toy chest if he wants. So he'll start pulling stuff out. So I'm doing this to be preemptive. So
he's like, that's exactly what I wanted.
So I don't have to like leave you as I'm chasing him as he's running around with like my notebooks and all kinds of work stuff.
He's so happy.
He is happy.
He is happy. Okay. So then Sunday. So we know we've got a crazy weekend in store. We know it's going to be emotional. There's going to be some possible regret, big life decisions made, people getting delusional, feeling a little foggy, still feeling a little nauseous, solar flares going on. I expect this to change things politically, which always makes my feathers ruffle because it's a Sunday.
Oh, okay.
So what could possibly go down on a Sunday? Saturn goes retrograde in Aquarius. Saturn goes retrograde. That's one of those things we always hear about Mercury, but not so much Saturn. And the notes on my astrological note cheat sheet talk about major transformation and purging of karmic baggage or issues, breaking of inner patterns that you have maybe even stifled upon yourself, and to give yourself space because you're not going to have that Lord of Karma guidance that you might otherwise have been feeling up to that point. But when you think of Saturn retrograde starting Sunday, what do you think?
So I always think of like retrograde, just like when you think Mercury retrograde, Mercury's communication and thoughts. And so you have like thoughts difficulty. So if Saturn's like rules, so this is a weird one. So I got to kind of like logically get this out. So if Saturn's like rules and restrictions, you would see difficulty in rules and restrictions and maybe some loosening of rules and restrictions. But we're in Aquarius, which is kind of that rebellious and changing the rules. So I almost see this as efforts to change rules and change things are going to be thwarted and be much more difficult. So if there's been this energy for change and driving different how things are going to happen going forward, you're going to see setbacks there. So to your point on the political piece, it may be some of these political winds that were going in certain directions are going to shift again. There's going to be something that's going to pop up that's going to derail where some of these things were heading. That's kind of what I see. So,
right. Gosh. And I think, I do my political show Monday through Thursday. And I kind of, at the end, I will talk conspiracy theory just a little bit. And I have a feeling that this Sunday, the Saturn retrograde, is going to be where all of these mask mandates were suddenly lifted and people were like, I don't understand what's going on. And like, even though Texas is bigger population than like the whole country of Australia, I believe, they had 0 COVID cases and like these weird number things, despite it gets into some weird spaces politically. And I expect information because Aquarius, I always do go to Aquarius, meaning that it is air. So it is something essentially a breeze, a gossip, a piece of information asking you to skeptically question what you know. And so something's going to happen that'll be misguided. I think this is going to be like a Snowden or like a like a hacker or like an underground organization, like iRobot kind of a thing that we see that's not well guided, not kind of like the Russian pipeline issue thing that we had where we weren't quite sure where or whom to pin this on, even though the $5 million was paid, which seems amazing to me. This, I think, is going to come back on Sunday and rear its head. So it's going to be interesting how that plays into. And let me know, guys, if you guys, psychic, paranormal, prophetic, have your thoughts. You begin to see the patterns as you join us here every Tuesday, and you can apply yourself, your own birth chart, get a reading from Matt or myself, learn how to apply it. You'll also see it applying to the environment as a whole, sociology and society as a whole. And you kind of see the dominoes falling, and it's a little bit easier to predict things. So that happens on Sunday. So then Monday. Monday. The moon moves again. Ooh, okay. So the moon, emotions, feminine energies, feeling restless. The moon moves in Scorpio, opposite Uranus in Taurus. Ooh, anytime Uranus moves, that's always interesting. So what do you see, Matt, with moon in Scorpio opposite Uranus and Taurus?
It's kind of tough. As my dog's lovingly looking at me, I have that's a tough one. I want to add real quick, because I just thought of a possible prediction. It is actually a little more positive. I'm not usually characterized as a glass half full person, but what I could see happening with this Saturn going retrograde is, with all these moves on election rules and things, and some of the proposals that have just come up in the last 2 days, there could be some increased momentum to find moderation and compromise, where these rules, restrictions, how we want to change things, get moderated into something that's maybe more balanced for everyone's views and what everybody wants. So that could actually be something constructive that comes out of that retrograde piece of, we're moving in one direction. Also, we're still in that space, but we're kind of backpedaling a little bit. So maybe there'll be a little bit of a compromise. And my family came home to get ready for noise. All right.
Craziness.
So moon opposite. So moon's internal, emotional. Scorpio, I always view it. Scorpio is like the James Bond, that intense, kind of like spy energy. It's very, very intense, but it's what you see isn't necessarily what you get. A lot of it's internal, and I don't mean this in a negative way when I see scheming, but there's usually an agenda and moving things behind the scenes in a way that person wants, but they're not necessarily going to make it obvious what they want. Unlike an Aries, which is going to be basically in your face and just let you know what they want to do. Scorpio is very subtle and kind of moving things behind the scenes. Opposite is not, it's not square where you have it as an obstacle. Opposite is more like this tension. So like two sides of a coin. So Uranus is independence. It's change, but it's much more short-term, sudden change. It's this thing that's coming way out of left field, catches you off guard, but not as profound as Pluto. That's in Taurus. We've talked a lot about Taurus. Taurus is stable and indulgent. So I say this almost every week, because Uranus is going to be in Taurus for a long time. So I hear this for a long time. Uranus is that rebellious. It's kind of it's the home sign for Aquarius. So it's that rebellious energy, but you're in this stable and indulgent space. So it's I'm going to rebel by sitting home and like smoking pot and talking about how we're going to change the world, but I'm not going to get up off my couch. Yeah. That having tension with this emotion and this kind of spy energy. So how I see this is, this could be emotional motivations to want to do things and do some things behind the scenes and make some changes and maybe manipulate some stuff. But you're going to have this tension with, I kind of want to do this, but I really don't have the energy or know if I really want to do it. So it's kind of like totally different analogy, but I want to start a running routine, and I get up in the morning and I get all ready and I'm like, do I really want to go out there and do that? I'm just going to go back to bed. It's that kind of tension.
Yeah. And you would do all the things just to lay back down.
Have tension of, yeah, but you may want to do it, but go back to bed. That's how I see it.
Yeah. And man, the moon, those feelings, Scorpio, hit or miss, hit or miss, hit or miss. And if it's a hit, it's a deadly hit. If it's a miss, it's a miss. It's a miss. And so when I think about that opposing, and I liked how you said that opposing was tension, that it was just a different perspective, and that Uranus, man, Uranus, the wild, I always think of Winona Ryder in an earth space. So that, like you had mentioned, kind of fixed, like, all right, all right, all right. Something weird is going to happen, but it's going to be a good thing. It's going to be a good investment. It's going to be a nod towards things you were already choosing. The path that you chose, you were like, I'm choosing this path and I kind of feel, I don't know. Or this is going to be validation that, okay, weird validation, wasn't expecting that, but this will be a good sign. So Monday, I expect to get feelings of both extremes, good and bad. But then as far as like the thoughts that we're having, the intentions that are going down, it's going to be in Taurus. So that's going to be a positive thing. That's going to be a long-term investment. That's going to be a good thing. So then here we are in the last 15 minutes of the show. Man, we're doing really good. Tuesday, a full week from today, Tuesday, May 25th, the day before the big lunar eclipse in Sagittarius, which if you're joining us next Tuesday, guys, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, Matt and I will bring our recommendations for you for how to use this lunar eclipse full moon energy. But you don't have to worry about that until next Tuesday. All you have to worry about right now is what you're going to feel when you wake up next Tuesday morning. And that is going to be an extension of that moon in Scorpio. But sextile something. It's going to be sextile Pluto in Capricorn. So Pluto, I always think that's a big life thing. Whoop, Pluto, that's a big life thing. And Capricorn, that's a good thing, right? Matt, what do you see?
I like Capricorn. I am a Capricorn. So Pluto, unlike Uranus being the quick, short, out of left field change, Pluto is. I know some people aren't gonna. If you ever saw Lost, there's those episodes where like there's this huge like gear, and they like move it, and it like totally does this whole like dimension shift. The island like totally shifts into like another dimension. Pluto's like that big. When that thing moves, it's like big stuff and impersonal. It's the farthest planet out. It's impersonal. It's like, my company's moving to California and you can come along or you can stay home, but we don't give a crap. We're going to California, whether you like it or not. In Capricorn. So Capricorn's achievement, it's the goat. It's I always want to keep climbing the mountain. When I get to the top of the mountain, I realize there's another mountain. We're just going to keep climbing the mountain. So it's very achievement focused. Sextile is removing obstacles. So we're going to go in background now. So we got the moon in Scorpio. So that spy energy, emotions. How do I want to manipulate things behind the scenes to get what I want? Removing obstacles to huge changes for success. So I see this as a huge gateway for opportunity, that if you have these emotional things you want to do, the door is going to swing open and that Pluto energy is going to be there for you in a successful way, that you will have opportunities. The analogy, this just popped into my head, but if anyone's out there, Harry Potter fans,
ooh, yeah.
When Harry Potter took liquid luck and everything just fell into place, Tuesday's energy is like liquid luck. You'll have Tuesday's good fortune energy on Tuesday.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
And when you think Pluto, you think, okay, this is something that it's going to be a feeling. It's going to be something that you maybe not even can control, or you will, gosh, I think it mirrors 2012. It mirrors 2008. I think were some other big Pluto shifts, astrologically speaking. These are life. These are for the next, 9 years? Pluto is 9 years. So this is going to be stuff that affects you for the next decade. And a lot of people wondering about their loved ones or their careers or their decision to move or doing this or that. These are big life-altering decisions that are going to be placing themselves in positive, long-term, good growth if used well. And you may not even have a choice in that. It's kind of already, we don't want to say predestined, but it's happening.
Yeah.
We just told you it's happening. It's happening next Tuesday. Do you know what's happening? Do you know what it is as we're telling you this big life thing that you are doing right now is going to come into a space and this and that. And we're giving you these details. And if you think, oh, yeah, this is what they're talking about. It's going to be different for everybody, but it will be the same. Right? It's weird how that is. It's a generalization, but it's specific to certain frequencies that, in astrology, it's breaking down those 12 houses or the 12 zodiac signs. Those frequencies, sometimes 12 seems like a lot, but they're very specific. And it's not a lot, but it's enough to know the difference between one and the other. So Pluto and Capricorn, it's going to be earth. It's going to be practical. You may not hear a lot about it. You may not celebrate a lot about it. You may not even feel a whole lot one way or the other about it, right? Capricorn is kind of strong-willed, but practical and smart. So I'm trying to think of who is my Capricorn? Who do you think of when you think of Capricorn energy? Like, who can I get in my mind space for that?
I'm awful and I usually don't think of people on this. This isn't going to help you, but whereas Taurus is earth and stable, I don't want to move. Capricorn's earth and wanting to like do new things. So it's like driven. It's like driven earth. It's like a CEO type, but I don't want to like all the CEOs I'm thinking of. I don't necessarily want to say they're specifically Capricorn. So, but it's
I think of Stephen Hawking. Which is kind of strange because he's one that didn't talk. He had his little beep, 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 his little speak and spell. And in that space, I feel like earth signs don't always, even though I'm a Virgo and obviously talk a lot, usually that earth space is thinking, analyzing, overthinking, anxious even in some spaces. And Capricorn, I would say innovative, right? Because it's a forward cardinal sign, but patient, able to sit long-term, like Stephen Hawking, someone who's thinking a lot, probably a lot more under the surface than you have, and maybe not seen as a terribly emotional person, or like Bill Gates right now going through all his stuff. And we're realizing that it's an affair. And it's like, man, it's hard to even imagine. I'm always amazed at these very, very rich people. I'm like, if you knew that people were obviously following you around with camcorders and trying to catch you, trying to blackmail you, would you make a misstep that stupid? Like, that seems like a really poor, no. But people aren't perfect. So sure. But anyway, I think about those particular spaces and how this is probably someone who's maybe not emotionally, it's not an emotional thing so much as it is a smart move. Maybe it's Dogecoin. Maybe it's cryptocurrency. What is it going to be? What do you think? What do you think and what do you feel when you're looking at the overall movements of this week? A lot of it being yen energy, internal introspection, Capricorn, Taurus. The only thing really, Aquarius out there, Gemini out there, and it's the Saturn and the Sun, and they're retrograde. Venus and Gemini, I suppose, that we experience tomorrow. But for the most part, everything is introspective. Everything is what is bringing you joy. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? How do you know this is the right decision? What do you think is going to be the biggest thing to look forward to?
I see this is a great analogy for Gemini in general of doing this the road less traveled and kind of that crossroads with the two. You're going to have this whole over the weekend, this whole kind of introspection crisis. Am I doing the right thing? Should I do something, one way or the other? Presumably people will kind of come up with conclusions coming out of that. And then you have this whole liquid luck Tuesday where all of a sudden opportunities will present themselves. So, maybe a little bit of maybe this weekend will be a little rough trying to figure out what you're going to do. But I think for the most part, the path will become clear on Tuesday. So don't fret over it. Don't do anything rash over the weekend. Just, wait and see. But, hopefully, next week when we do this, hopefully we'll have people on here saying, hey, we've had
great things
kind of just open up and we figured out what we're doing and the path is clear. And
I think it's clearly now the rain is gone. It's going to be one of those moments. I hope so. I'm really looking forward to it. I think that even that Saturn in Aquarius retrograde with different little things showing us new ways of rule changes or how things can be, how things can grow. I do expect with some of the air, I'm always kind of looking at that literally as well, physically speaking. I expect some tornadoes. That's the season. I expect there to be some storms. That's the season. But I also tend to notice patterns, if you will. The meteorology follows this too. It follows the stars. So where you're going to see a big Aquarius storm or Gemini storm, you're probably going to see the weather spiking as well. I mean, unless you completely subscribe to HARP controlling it all and there is no pattern, it's at the hand of some man, then maybe. But for the most part, there is a pattern. And the farmers try and predict it as best we can, but it follows the stars. So I expect some weather, some storms. I love a thunderstorm. I love to make like a good soup. Thunderstorm, sit back with Gemini, listen to both sides of the story. If you're a parent, hear both sides before you get crazy and try not to overfeel, because with the solar flares and the continued introspective yin energy, as Matt said, we're going to be kind of wondering if we took the right path, but ultimately it is. It's going to be the right path and things are going to work really well. So
I would add really quick, since it is Gemini energy, you're going to hear a lot of people talking about things they want to do or things they might do that they're never, ever, ever going to do. So this isn't a time to be really aggressive and act on what somebody might say. There's going to be a whole lot of this whole extroverted thought process out there. You're going to hear a lot of stuff, and keep this in mind, even with the political things and things I'm you're going to hear a lot of stuff that's never, ever, ever going to happen because people are just having this kind of mental vomit of just all these ideas out there and stuff. And maybe 5% of it's ever going to be acted on. So just keep that in mind too. Don't get yourself too stressed out over ideas and things that people are shooting out there because
we're just talking it out.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just talking it out. We're just talking it out. Calm down. Don't get crazy. We're just talking it out. And if you guys want to do your best to take some of those times to just pause, take some of the advice from Matt. If you want to get a reading, a birth chart reading, or learn more about your own personal astrology going on, Matt, how can they find you?
We have the Astrology and Alchemy Facebook page that we're just getting fully set up and going. So it's not all pretty yet, but it's up there. So you could find us on that. You can also send me a note on mslozer@yahoo.com. And I'd be happy to work with you all.
Yay.
And you have your site as well.
Yeah. Paranormalsarah.com, guys. You can go there. And if you or where you are finding and watching us right now, if it's on YouTube, if it's on Instagram, if it's on Facebook, direct message us there. Go to and search the new Facebook group, and you will see we're going to be doing fun little giveaways and readings and cool stuff that you can learn more about everything that we're talking about, or you can just join us on Tuesday. You can join us on Tuesday, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Next Tuesday, you're not going to want to miss it as we really go over the importance of this lunar eclipse to be expected. But you guys, send us a message. Let us know where you're at, and we'll see you next week. Right?
Sounds good. Yep. Apologize for my dogs going nuts in the background. That's what happens when I get. That's why I'm sometimes in the camper, but I can't be in the camper tonight. So
crazy. No, it's perfectly fine. We understand it's real. It's impromptu. This is not a scripted thing. Matthew, you're not reptilian. You're a real person with dogs.
I'm a real person.
We'll see you next Tuesday, guys. And until then, have a good week. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone. Have a great week.